What's up, guys? We are back for another SH Figuarts review from Bandai Tamashii Nations, taking a look at the beginning of an entire new line for them with Figuarts. So we're taking a look at the Spike Spiegel figure from Cowboy Bebop. It goes without saying that if you're an anime fan, you're likely a fan of this show. I have been watching this for so long, and I've got a few toys for Bebop here and there, but there's never been a great deal of stuff available. And I'm really hoping this line has some legs because I'm very excited to dig into this guy. We've got him here in typical Figuarts style packaging. Of course, it's all done up with the Cowboy Bebop motif. You can see Spike there in the window. We've got the logo. We've got the red brick backdrop, the logo on the side, and then the back of the packaging, as usual, has a bunch of product shots showcasing the figure's articulation and accessories. So let's do it. Let's pull this Space Cowboy out and take a look. Alright guys, here he is out of the package, the main man himself, Spike Spiegel. Very excited, very interested to take a look at this figure just because I am such a big fan of Cowboy Bebop. It has been a constant anime presence in my life for a very long time. So I'm very familiar with the look and the feel for this particular character. I'm very excited to dig into this because honestly it gives me hopes for this line continuing and giving us figures that we really just don't have in any capacity. So let's dig in, take a look at how he moves around as usual, take a look at articulation first, because there's some good and there's some okay, not so good here. Honestly, we've got the head on a double ball peg, so you can pop it right off there. That's one thing that I've noticed right away with this figure. If you do too much too quick, that head's going to come right off. It does not really go back or up either because of the way this peg is seated. It hits the neck immediately, so you don't have much on the upswing. He can look down, you know, probably more than he'll ever need, and then you can rotate. The neck is articulated at the shoulders, so it helps to aid with the down especially, and then of course you've got a little bobble side to side. Arms go all the way out. You do have slight butterfly joint here as well. You just got to line up the plates, and then you've got rotation at the shoulder. You do have rotation in the elbow as well as a hinge, and you'll get a little bit better than 90. The shirt being rolled up does hinder things just because it has to hit somewhere. That is, of course, his look, though, so I can't really fault that. You've got ball hinge, wrists, and then, of course, you've got the rotation. So standard stuff with Figuarts in terms of the wrist there. As far as the waist goes and the crunch and the chest, he can twist up here at the diaphragm, and then you've got some crunch back and forth, bobble side to side, rotation. And then you've got a ball peg down here at the waist, so you can get him to lean over a decent bit, and then backwards pretty good as well. You can also hinge him down there because there's a ball peg that goes up that leads to two ball pegs down in the legs, so you can kick the legs out, kick forward, back. You can swivel there as well. You can swivel at the knee and then of course hinge, so you get better than 90. It looks pretty good. It's really seamless from the side specifically. That looks really nice. And then you've got your rotation, rocker, hinge down at the ankle, and of course you've got toe articulation too. So he does move pretty well. My only real gripe when it comes to this figure is the head. I really wish that he could look up a little bit better. It just doesn't really do it very well, frankly. It's probably the one joint that is really lacking here. Now, all that being said, my main draw for this figure is not posability, and I know that seems crazy because it's an action figure, it's an import figure, so he needs to move around well, and he does move around pretty well. But when it comes to Cowboy Bebop, it's all about the look and the style, and I was really looking for this figure to translate that into figure form as well as possible. And I think for the most part they've done a good job here. There is one area where I think things look a little off, but the style and the look for Spike I think is pretty well spot on here. And being a Figuarts, this one is kind of par for the course. There's really not a lot of paint on this figure, and I'll do size comparisons as well shortly just to show you what he looks like. But as far as the figure itself goes, I mean, most of this guy is cast plastic. There is cast plastic for the legs, for his shoes, for his wrists, for his hands, and then, you know, for most of the torso is cast plastic, and then you've got the yellow in there for the shirt and the black for the tie, and then you've got a little bit of light blue here for the inner parts of his jacket with, you know, this piece here, the little hooks here, and then of course the rolled up sleeves. So the figure is, as is pretty common with a lot of Figuarts, is cast plastic, and it looks fine. It very much goes to an anime kind of style. The colors are pretty nice. They clash really well. That yellow and the blue, they really pop against each other, and I think it just looks the part. This is basically what I think Spike looks like. You know, when I think of Spike Spiegel, I think of something that looks very, very similar to this. So I'm really, really happy with how the proportions turned out. You know, he's really lanky, really leggy, and that's just what Spike is. So I think they've done a pretty solid job when it comes to constructing this figure. Where I think things aren't quite as perfect compared to the rest of the body are the face. Honestly, it is really, really close, but in some ways I almost don't see it. And I'm trying to not nitpick over this thing too much because at the end of the day, it does very much look like Spike Spiegel. But somehow at certain times, I kind of feel like it just looks a little too generic. But then at other times, you know, move him around a bit and you're like, oh yeah, that's him. So, you know, I guess it's maybe more of a profile type of issue or something like that, or it could just be my eyes deceiving me. I still think this is a very nice looking face. I just don't think it looks as good as the body does in terms of comparison's sake. The general sculpt is definitely there. The hair is very much on point. You've got that green-black hue, so they've got the paint down really nice, and then all the features on the face are really, really nicely done. And if I have any real gripes about this particular face, there are 3 other faces in this package that I think look more cartoon accurate. So I guess it's really going to come down to personal preference on this one. I think it's really close, but not perfect. Now, as I mentioned, we'll run through some size comparisons here just to give you an idea of what he looks like against some other figures in general, because he is definitely kind of on the small side. For anything 6-inch-ish scale, Spike is definitely not going to scale in with everything you've got. Now, as far as accessories go, Spike does come with a pretty decent spread. You've got kind of the requisite hands and heads array here, and he does come with quite a few different things. So to start off with, he has got his pistol, which is just a pretty standard pistol, black plastic, and then you've got 4 extra sets of hands. You have got a more open palm style gripping hand, which is not for the gun. You've got the actual trigger finger hands. You've got pseudo-ish martial arts style poses, and then you've got 2 hands for 2-finger poses, and then he comes with 3 extra heads, or face plates rather. So you've got a slightly smiling head, you've got my favorite head, which has the cigarette, which I think looks the most cartoon accurate. I think it's the one I'm going to use going forward. And then you've got his kind of flustered, fighting, kind of surprised / angry face. So this guy comes fully loaded. You know, he does have a lot of stuff in the box. I'm sure there's more random stuff they could have given him, but as far as the standard assortment, this is everything I think he really needs. And those extra faces really, for me personally, make up for what I think is a kind of subpar standard face. So at the end of the day, this is a really solid first entry in the Cowboy Bebop line. Again, I do have a couple nitpicky things when it comes to this figure. I wish the head could tilt back much farther, and I think that standard faceplate isn't all that great, but the other 3 really make up for it for me. The figure in general, though, looks like Spike Spiegel. The proportions are there, the style is there, the colors are there, and he comes with a pretty solid array of accessories. So if anything, all it's done is get me even more excited for the potential this line holds if it actually continues going. We've already seen Vicious shown. Hopefully we're going to get a Jet, a Faye, an Ed, everybody that they want to throw at us. I'm pretty sure people will buy them. But I think this is a solid entry to start things off with, and I'm really happy to finally have a highly articulated Spike Spiegel. When it's all said and done, I'm happy with this figure, regardless of the minor nitpicks I have. So that's going to do it for this look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations SH Figuarts Spike Spiegel figure. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.